Welcome, foolish mortals. There's no turning back now.
That's right. Welcome, foolish mortals, to episode number 2 of the Disney Life Happy Wife podcast. Because for me, if it's a Disney life, then I'm a happy wife. As they say in one of my absolute favorite rides, I am your ghost host. I'm Kristen. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast where we talk about all things Disney. Now, I know in my last episode, I had talked about how, we'll definitely be talking about Disney parks in this podcast. So I figure, last week was an intro episode. Today, we're going to just kick things right off with talking about the Disney parks. So on today's show, I am going to talk a little bit about my opinions in the Walt Disney World parks. I'll talk about each one of the parks, my favorite restaurant, my favorite ride, and my favorite non-ride attraction in the parks. And I'll also be talking about Disney Springs a little bit. So we're only going to be touching base on Walt Disney World because I have yet to go to Disneyland. So once we go to Disneyland, I can fill you in on my favorites from there. But today we are just sticking with Walt Disney World. So let's get this started. Let's hop right in. So first things first, I'm going to start with my very favorite park. And I'm pretty sure this is most people's favorite park. I'm going to be talking about the Magic Kingdom. Magic Kingdom, the best way to describe it is in the name, magic. It's magical. You walk in through those parks. Of course, you have to get through security and everything. But you walk in and you walk down Main Street, USA, and you see Cinderella's castle. And there is nothing more magical than the first time you see Cinderella's castle. And even someone like me who's been so many times, there's just nothing like it. There's nothing like seeing that castle. It takes your breath away. Some people, it brings tears to their eyes. I know there is nothing I do more than smile when I see that. I just stop what I'm doing and I just smile at it. It's my home away from home. I love it. Magic Kingdom is my favorite park, so we're going to start there. So when anybody asks, Kristen, what's your favorite ride in Magic Kingdom? Well, let me tell you. Most people would say it's, one of the great thrill rides that they have there. And I personally wouldn't know because I'm not much of a thrill ride person. But my husband sure is, and he has given that love to my daughter. And her favorite ride in Magic Kingdom is the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train roller coaster. And it's a pretty tame roller coaster when you think of all the other roller coasters they have in Walt Disney World. But that is not my favorite ride. My favorite ride, if you couldn't tell from the intro to this podcast, is the Haunted Mansion. Now, to hear that from me, it might be turning some heads a little bit for those who know me. For those who do not know me personally, I am such a scaredy cat. I'm a big chicken. I do not like haunted houses or anything really scary. I don't watch horror movies. I'm not like that. I don't like to be scared. So to say that Haunted Mansion is my favorite ride at Magic Kingdom is a little, outside of the ordinary, I guess, for me. But you could be thinking, what? Haunted Mansion? That's your favorite Walt Disney World ride in Magic Kingdom? That's your favorite Magic Kingdom ride? It doesn't even go that fast. Yeah, I know it doesn't go fast. But so regardless of all of that, it's my favorite because the detail, yet the simplicity of the ride is by far the best for me. And I love how, you walk in and there's such a great intro to it with the stretching room. And for some people, it gets a little bit scary. And I know the first time I went on that ride, I was older and I was still hesitant about it. I was like, oh, geez, what am I getting myself in for? I don't know about this. And my husband, I think it was on our honeymoon that I first went on that ride. And my husband was like, don't worry, you'll be fine. It's great. Just trust me. Just go on the ride. And I did. And I fell in love with this ride. So going along and you're hearing the ghost host talk and you're experiencing the happy haunts over at the Magic Kingdom at Gracie Manor. It's just so great. I love it. It's silly. It's funny. It's at some points it could be a little bit spooky, but to me, the big chicken, I don't really think it's that bad. So you might ask, this is your favorite Magic Kingdom ride, but is it appropriate for younger kids? Well, Emily is 4 years old. She's going to be 5 in December. And we have been taking her to Disneyland almost every year since she was probably about 10 months old. The first time she went on Haunted Mansion, she was 10 months old. Now, given that she probably slept through Haunted Mansion the first couple of times she went on it, she didn't really remember. The last couple of times that we've gone on it, I will say it is a dark ride. You're pretty much in the dark the whole time. It's supposed to be a haunted house, so it's supposed to have that spooky effect. And Em wasn't that thrilled about it being in the dark. Now, if it was lighter in the ride, I'm sure she would have been fine with it. She got a little spooked a couple of times, but all in all, I definitely think it's appropriate for kids of all ages. And as long as they're riding with an adult who's going to assure them that it's all in fun, nobody's going to get them, they're very safe in the ride. And my big tip for adults who have children that might get scared, point out the silly, funny things in the ride. Point out, oh, look at that. How funny is that? Oh, look at this over here. I know there's one point where you see a couple of cats in the ride, and I always love to point out the cats to Em. I'm like, oh, Em, look at the kitty cats. Look at that. And there's the caretaker and his dog, and I love pointing out the dog to Em. And I point out the silly things and the ghosts dancing and how funny it is. I love pointing that stuff out to her, so that way I know she's not going to get scared. So if you have younger kids, I definitely think that it's a great ride for all ages. So definitely take them on it. And if you think they're going to be scared, play into the silliness of it and let them know that there's nothing to be afraid of. It's just a ride, and that they're going to be okay. So going from there, we are going to go into my favorite restaurant. This restaurant is probably the most expensive restaurant in Magic Kingdom. And it's also probably one of the hardest to get reservations at. I know that when I make my advanced dining reservations, like we talked about in the last episode, when I make those, this is one of the very first ones that I make. I make sure that I get in there and get this reservation as one of the first ones because I know it's going to be a hard one to get. And I know chances are if I wait too long that I won't get one that I'm looking for. And I have to say that the expense, yes, it's expensive. And yes, it's hard to get a reservation and all of that. But it is so worth it. It's completely worth all the anxiety of getting a reservation and the money that you're going to spend. The location, the experience, the food, it's all amazing. Okay, so have I piqued your interest there a little bit? So the restaurant that I'm talking about is Cinderella's Royal Table. Just that in itself. If you know anything about Walt Disney World and the Magic Kingdom, you know that Cinderella's Royal Table is by far one of the best restaurants. The food is considered American cuisine, so it's nothing too out there if you're not, branching out from American cuisine. They say that the restaurant is a fine dining signature establishment with a character experience. So for those who go, well, what does that really mean? So that means that the price that it is categorized at is $3 to $4 signs, which shows you that it's expensive. So that means that it ranges anywhere from $35 to over $60 per meal per adult. So, like I said, it's a bit on the expensive side. If you do the dining plan, like my family usually does, this is 2 table service dining credits. Okay, so be prepared for that. You don't necessarily have to pay for it out of pocket. You can use your dining credits for it, but it is 2. You also have the opportunity when you make reservations, if you want to prepay. I know we've done that in the past. I'm not sure if you can still do it. I'd have to double check on it, but I know that you used to be able to do that in the past. They serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner there. We've only been there for lunch in the past, and we're lucky enough that we got dinner reservations for our next trip. So I'm really excited to see how it differs from lunch and dinner, and I'm hoping that when we go, it will be dark enough outside that we can see what it looks like outside. I'm so excited about that. one of my favorite menu items that they have on their menu, and it's been there ever since we've gone there. I think we've gone there maybe 3 times, and it's been there every single time. It's a dessert item. It's called The Clock Strikes 12, and it is so good. It is chocolatey deliciousness at its finest. And the theming of the dessert itself, it can't be surpassed. The Clock Strikes 12. If you know Cinderella, you know all about the clock striking 12, and she turns back into Cinderella, poor Cinderella instead of Cinderella dressed up like a princess. You know all about that. It's amazing. It's so good. I highly recommend it. If you're a chocolate lover like I am, definitely get that dessert. But the best part of Cinderella's Royal Table has to be the character experience. So, yes, it's magical being inside Cinderella's castle. You're going inside Cinderella's castle. How cool is that? But the experience you get in meeting the characters there is by far the best. The food is delicious, but the characters are the best. I can't say that enough. And you might be thinking, well, who do you meet there? Who do you meet inside Cinderella's castle? Princesses, of course. So when you go to see Cinderella's Royal Table, you walk in and so let's back up a little. So you go to Cinderella's Royal Table, you check in, and then when your name is called, you go into a small lobby. And, you're waiting there for your name to be called yet again. But when you're in that lobby, you meet Cinderella. She's stationed there for photo ops, and there is a Disney PhotoPass photographer there to take your picture. And the interaction that she has with the guests is just awesome. She's so great. And there's even a little Jacques and Gus sitting there watching you guys too. It's very cute. So when your name is called, you head upstairs into a magical dining room. It is fit for a queen, not just a princess, but a queen. It is amazing. And so you head upstairs, and then as you dine, you are greeted and you meet several princesses. Now, I'm trying to think how many. I think it's 4 princesses. I don't think it's more than 4. So the few times that we've met the same princesses each time. So we've met Cinderella downstairs, and then upstairs you meet Aurora, Snow White, Ariel, and Jasmine. And I know that sometimes instead of Jasmine, they'll have different princesses. I've heard that Mulan has been there and Merida has been there, but we've met Jasmine the few times that we've been, and it's awesome. And I can't tell you enough how great the characters interaction is. When we went, I think the last time we were at Cinderella's Royal Table, we went, my husband, Emily, and I, and my mother-in-law and stepfather-in-law, we were there, and it was so great. Emily was so excited to be there. And when she met Ariel, and she had met Ariel before, but when she met Ariel this time, she was so excited. And she sat there and she got out of the table and she stood next to Ariel, and Ariel bent down and kneeled down next to her. And she was so excited. And Em pretty much crawled into Ariel's lap. Now, it was getting to Em's nap time at that point, so she was a little sleepy, but she crawled into Ariel's lap, and she was so excited to see her. And Ariel was so excited about it. And she said to Emily, she's like, I have to go see some of the other kids now, but I promise you that I'll be back. And guess what? She came back. She came back to see Emily, and it was so great. We were so excited about it. And we made sure to tell the cast members about the interaction between Ariel and Emily. And we said, whoever you can tell that Ariel was so fantastic, please tell them we had such a great time and Emily had such a great time. So is it a wonder that this is my favorite restaurant in Magic Kingdom? No. So let's stick with the princess theme and head into my next topic from Magic Kingdom, my favorite non-ride attraction. Now, this one, we're going to head to the edge of Fantasyland and Liberty Square for this, and it's not going to be listed on the Disney website. You have to actually, if you're looking through Pinterest or looking through websites that talk about great things in Disney that aren't about the rides, you should find this one. So over by the Rapunzel bathrooms, and yes, I know how weird this sounds, there are quite a number of hidden Pascals. Now, I know that they say when you're in Disney to look for the hidden Mickeys, but this one is really great. So, if you've been to Magic Kingdom, you know that there's an area, like I said, on the edge of Fantasyland and the edge of Liberty Square, that is a bathroom that is Rapunzel themed. And I think that they should have more things in Disney that are Rapunzel themed, but I love this area. The bathrooms are great. They're usually always really clean. And they play some great Rapunzel themed music around that area. They also do a photo op there at night. But one of the great things that we found is that hidden around the bathroom area, and there's a sitting area right near there with a little brook and everything, but hidden around there are little Pascal and his friends. So if you look around, there's even a sign that says look for them. The last time we were there, we definitely did this. We were looking for Pascal and looking for his buddies, and Em had such a great time looking for them. I know I took a bunch of pictures of them, and she would look around and she would run around. She'd be like, oh, look, Pascal. Oh, look, Pascal. And she had so many other people looking for Pascal, too. It was great. I highly recommend doing that, especially if you have little kids and they love Pascal. Pascal is my favorite animal sidekick, and I think that it's just such a great way to honor Rapunzel and to recognize what a great sidekick Pascal is. So let's go from Magic Kingdom and head over to my second favorite park, Epcot. What other place can you travel around the world and into the future? Epcot. It's the best. I absolutely love it. It's, like I said, my second favorite park. So what is my favorite ride at Epcot? Well, my favorite ride, and this one might also make you go, if you know me, go, Kristen, really? Is Soarin'. Now, for those who don't know, like I've said before, for those who don't know me personally, I am so afraid of heights, it's not even funny. I clam up and I get tense and I just hate heights. I can't do it. It's a huge fear. I don't know how to get over it, but it is what it is. So why on earth would a girl who's afraid of heights love a ride that simulates hang gliding? Really? Hang gliding? Why would I love this ride? I can't even tell you. So in the queue of the ride, as you're standing there waiting, there's a video that plays that talks about some of the safety precautions that are in the ride. Now, the ride does move and it does go up, so they tell you, where to put your bags and all that kind of stuff. So one of the things that it says is, if you're afraid of heights, they suggest that you do not ride the ride. The first time I was on this ride, I said to my husband, they said, if you're afraid of heights, don't ride. And I immediately went, uh-oh, what do I do? Uh-oh, what do I do? Uh-oh, what do I do? And he said, Kristen, chill out. Relax. It's going to be fine. I promise you it will be okay. So we get on the ride, and you know what? He was right. I love Soarin'. There are a couple of parts in it where I had to close my eyes because it makes you feel like you're going downhill or down pretty fast, and I'm not a person that likes that feeling, so I close my eyes a little bit, but it really does make you feel like you are hang gliding and it's larger than life, and it makes you really feel like you're there and you're seeing it. And just it's soaring around the world. So you go through these different areas of the world. You go through the savannah of Africa, and there are elephants, and the elephant tosses up sand or dirt, and you transition into a different one. You see whales and polar bears, and then at the very end, you transition into going over Epcot and Spaceship Earth, and there's Tinkerbell and fireworks. It's amazing. I highly recommend it. Even if you're afraid of heights, sit on the very bottom. The very bottom. Like I said, the ride goes up. So if you are in the top tier, you are pretty high up. So I recommend being on the very bottom. I stayed right to the very edge. My husband and I were the first two people, or I guess the last two people, depending on how you look at it. So I could look and I could tell that, it's not real. I'm on a ride, but it's amazing. Even if you're afraid of heights, I suggest trying it out. You can always close your eyes and feel like you're not, and you can realize, it's not real. You're not really that high. It's okay. So even if you're afraid of heights, I still recommend Soarin'. It is absolutely amazing. Now, Soarin' is located over in the Land Pavilion, and my favorite restaurant in the Land Pavilion is Garden Grill. And it it's great. So the food there, we've been there for breakfast before, but they also serve lunch and dinner. We've only done breakfast there, and they served just great food. And it's family style, so they bring out platters of food to you, and they have, eggs and Mickey waffles and bacon and fruit, and they have a really great cinnamon roll, and it's just so great. I loved it. And one of the best parts about it is that it's a character meal, and there you get to meet Mickey, Pluto, Chip, and Dale. And it's the only restaurant, I should say, that you can meet Chip and Dale. And it's great because I love Chip and Dale. I'm a twin and they're twins, and my sister always says that I'm Dale and she's Chip, and I love it. And Emily loves Chip and Dale, so we always try and do it. We've done it a couple of times, but I'm not sure that we'll be back again unless it's just Em and I, because for those who don't know, it's in the Land Pavilion, but it's above Living with the Land. So as you are there, it's a slow moving restaurant, so it slowly rotates. Now, if you don't like the motion, it can kind of mess with you a little bit, and it messes with my husband a bit, so he's just like, yeah, I'm not sure that we're gonna go back there. But the food's delicious, the character experience is great. I know I think the first time that we went was when Em was younger, and she was still a bit scared of the characters, and they all came over, and we tried to get her to get a picture with them, and she wouldn't do it, and she was just too scared. And the cast member who was walking around with the characters said to me, she's like, well, what if we tried to have the characters photobomb you guys? What if you guys were taking a picture and we'll take a picture of you, and we had one of the characters come up and photobomb you behind us? And it was great. We got the best picture of Mickey photobombing us. It was so great. I loved it. We got a picture with the characters without Em even knowing, so she wasn't scared. It was perfect. And the price there is not so bad. It's $3 signs. Okay, so it's a little bit on the expensive side, but you're getting great food and a character experience. So $3 signs equates to about $35 to $60 per adult, and it is only one dining credit. I highly recommend it. It's absolutely delicious. So with that character experience, let's talk about my favorite non-ride attraction at Epcot. So that is the multiple character experiences that they have throughout the park. Now, with a lot of the parks, you'll have some character meet and greets here and there, but in Epcot, there's tons of them. If you want to meet characters, this is the place to do it. All throughout the world, I think there's a character experience in every single country that you go into. There might just be a couple that there aren't. We always make sure that when we're in Norway, we stop to meet Anna and Elsa. It is the only place that you will meet them in all of the parks. So we always make sure to stop there. In several of the other countries, there's different characters that you can meet. We met Aurora. You can meet Belle. There's some of the Fab Five there as well. It's amazing. It's unbelievable. There's also a character spot over in Future World. We met Mickey, Minnie, and Goofy there once, and then on the other side of it, there's also different characters that you can meet that may not be as popular in the parks. So we met Baymax last time, and I heard that he's not going to be there the next time that we go, so I'm a little bummed out about that, but we got to meet him, and it was so great. Em loves Big Hero 6. I love Big Hero 6, and we love Baymax. So the fact that we got to meet him was amazing. So Epcot has something for everyone, and it's constantly growing and constantly changing. Not always in a big way, but there's going to be a lot of great new things coming to Epcot, and it's a wonder that it's, my second favorite, not my first favorite, but I love Epcot. So let's head over to park number 3. We're going to talk about Em's favorite park, which is Hollywood Studios. Why is it her favorite? Because it has Disney Junior and Toy Story. So it has Toy Story. They just opened Toy Story Land recently, and in Toy Story Land, they have my favorite ride, which is Toy Story Midway Mania. Now, in this ride, it has another thing that I'm not crazy about, which is 3D, but this ride is actually my favorite Walt Disney World ride. I absolutely love it. And 3D has always kind of messed with me in the past, you know, knowing what's real, what's coming towards me and what isn't. It always kind of messed with me a bit. But this ride is great. So you get into a car, you have a blaster, put on your 3D glasses, and you're spinning around, and it'll stop. And when it stops, you're in front of a carnival ride. And you're watching, and the blaster, you shoot out darts or whatever it is, balls or whatever, to, you know, break plates or break balloons or whatever that ride may be, a ring toss. And it's so great. So it simulates carnival rides, and as you're doing it, there are a certain number of points that you can get for certain areas where you're shooting things. And the reason I think that I love this ride so much is we get so competitive with this ride. My husband and I are so competitive with it. And he and I try to best each other every time. Now, since there's the three of us, usually we'll get split up, and my husband will ride with Emily and I ride by myself. And we try and see who's the best in that car. And it's always my husband. He always wins. I don't think I've ever beat him, but I've come pretty close. The last year or so, I've come pretty close to getting to him, but I haven't beaten him. But it's my absolute favorite ride in all of Walt Disney World. If you have never been on Toy Story Midway Mania, I highly, highly recommend it. When you get to Hollywood Studios, if you do a rope drop, you know, most people now that Star Wars has opened will head straight to Star Wars, but I recommend that if you have a Fast Pass, get an early Fast Pass for Toy Story Midway Mania, and then rope drop straight there, jump on it, and then within your time spot of your Fast Pass, get on it again. It's great. It's my favorite ride. I highly recommend it. So since we're saying that Hollywood Studios is M's favorite, we talked about Toy Story a little bit with my favorite ride, but my favorite restaurant there so far is Hollywood and Vine. They have a great buffet there. It's absolutely delicious. The price point is, let's see, it's $3 signs, so it's in that $35 to $60 range. It's one dining credit, so not bad. And it's definitely one of the best buffets in all of the parks. But besides that, like I've said about other restaurants before, it's all about the theming, and it's all about the experience that you get there. So for breakfast, you get to meet Disney Junior characters. Now, having a 4-year-old, having a preschooler, this is the best. She looks forward to this experience so much as she looks forward to meeting princesses. She looks forward to this one. Now, in the past, you got to meet Princess Sophia, Doc McStuffins, Jake from Jake and the Neverland Pirates, and Handy Manny. Well, the last time that we went, they had changed it up literally right before we got there. And instead of meeting them, you got to meet Princess Sophia, Doc McStuffins, Goofy from Mickey and the Roadster Racers, and Vampirina. Em was beyond excited to meet Vampirina. So we went and we met Vampirina, and then this time when we go, because Sophia is no longer there, they changed out Sophia for Fancy Nancy. Em is beside herself excited to meet Fancy Nancy. She loves Fancy Nancy, loves the books, loves the show. She's so excited about it. I can't wait. And the food there is delicious. We've had breakfast and lunch there. I highly recommend it. For lunchtime, if you're looking for the character experience, it is kind of we'll say a mini party. So Minnie is stationed at the front so you can meet her. And then while you're eating, Mickey, Donald, Daisy, and Goofy are all walking around to meet you guys. When we were there last, it was still kind of a Halloween themed. So they were all in costumes. I can't remember which each of them were, but Donald was dressed up like an astronaut. It was really cool. So we love that. It's definitely a great dining experience. So let's go from there to my favorite non-ride attraction. Now, this one is kind of a no-brainer. Emily is a big fan of this movie. I'm a big fan of this movie. It is the Frozen sing-along. Now, you go in and you sit down in a big theater, and a couple of people come up on stage. They are the historians of Arendelle. I can't remember their names exactly, but they are hilarious. And you go through, and there's a big event in Arendelle, and while you're waiting for the event to happen, Anna's looking for her sister, and the historians tell you a little bit about the history of Arendelle. So it brings you through the movie of Frozen, through all of the songs. So it's a sing-along, and the historians will step aside, and there's a big screen that shows the songs, and it'll give you all the words to the songs. And of course, everybody knows the words. They don't really need the words to be shown to you, but it's a sing-along, so they have to show the words. And the whole auditorium just starts singing. It's great. We love it. It's again one of my favorites. It's definitely my favorite non-ride attraction in Hollywood Studios, and the historians are just so funny. I didn't think it would be as funny as it was, but it's hilarious. I absolutely love it. So we were lucky enough one year when we went that it was right after Olaf's Frozen Adventure came out, and we actually got to see Olaf come out at the end, and Olaf and Elsa and Anna and Kristoff sang a couple of the songs from that short movie to the audience. It was great. We absolutely loved it. And I'm sitting there looking at them going, what are they singing? And then I realized, oh my gosh, it's from Olaf's Frozen Adventure. I hadn't seen the movie yet, so I was so excited to see that. So that wraps up Hollywood Studios. So let's head over to the final park over in Walt Disney World, Animal Kingdom. So my favorite ride there is the safari. I love sitting in that car and driving along and seeing all these animals. And there are ways that animals can't get to you, but there's no fences. You know, they're not fencing off the animals. There are some points where animals can get pretty close to you, and it's very cool. There have been times where we have been driving along, and one of the giraffes has literally been right there, and it's close enough that you could almost touch it. Like, so close. They don't get that close to the cars because they don't want to be that close to you, but it's so cool. I love seeing all the animals and all the different types, and we love pointing them out to Emily and saying, oh, Em, look at the elephants there. Oh, look at the giraffes. Look at the hippos. Look at the zebras. Excuse me, all of that. We love seeing all the animals and seeing them so close up. It's unlike anything that you can see in a zoo here, and it's wonderful that they give you so much information as you're going through the safari. They tell you so much about just the areas where you are and where these animals would be, in nature. It's so wonderful. I highly recommend it to anybody who is going through Animal Kingdom. If there's one ride you definitely have to do, it's definitely the safari. So with that, we're going to jump into my favorite restaurant. My favorite restaurant in Animal Kingdom is one that we go to every single time. Every single time we have to go here. It's by far one of the best. It's Yak and Yeti. The cuisine is Asian themed. The restaurant has a Naples style theming. It's great. It's absolutely delicious. I can't recommend it enough. It's the best. So the price range is actually $2 signs, and so that gives it in the $15 to $35 per adult range. It's one dining credit on the dining plan. I highly recommend it. Definitely make a reservation there. We've only been for dinner. I've never been for lunch before, but it's so great. I always get the pot stickers there because it's one of my favorite Asian appetizers, so I recommend that. And I was lucky enough one time to get the chicken and waffles. They had chicken and waffles as a special, and I saw that and I said, I'm doing it. And it was an Asian themed chicken and waffles. It was so good. Excuse me, I can not recommend it. I have to recommend it so much. It's so good. Definitely get that when you go. If they have it on the special, the chicken and waffles, definitely get it. And their kids menu is so great for picky eaters. Em's a picky eater. It's a very big menu for kids. It's perfect. So if you're looking for a really great Asian themed restaurant while you're in Disney, definitely check out Yak and Yeti. Em loves the theming there, and whenever we, of course, we're at a restaurant, Em immediately has to use the bathroom halfway through the meal. She loves that when we're walking towards the bathroom, there is a giant Buddha statue, and she loves to say hi to Buddha every time we go in. She's like, "Hi, Buddha," and she loves to rub his belly and stuff like that. It's so great. So it's definitely one of our all-time favorite dining experiences. It's not even a character experience, but we love Yak and Yeti. Definitely check it out when you're in Animal Kingdom. And with that, we're going to talk about my favorite non-ride attraction, which is the Festival of the Lion King. If you were looking for the best show in all of Walt Disney World, it is definitely Festival of the Lion King. The lights, the costumes, the dancing, the singing, it's the best. When you walk into this big theater, amphitheater, you are separated into 4 groups. So one is the lions, the elephants, the giraffes, and the warthogs. And the 4 main people in the show will come to each section, and whichever one you are, and you practice that animal sound. It's so great. It's so fun, the interaction between the characters and the actors and the people. It's so great. And then when the show starts, they have these animals that come out. So you have Simba, who's over by the lions. You have Pumbaa by the warthogs, a big elephant and a big giraffe. It's so great. And it's this big festival. It's this big party that's all about these animals, and it's all about the Lion King and the wonderful music. And they perform all these great acts. There's acrobatics, there's dancing. It's amazing. And at the end, they actually invite the younger kids to come out, and they'll walk around with noisemakers, and they'll walk around the whole thing until you get back to where your seat is, and just shaking it around. It's like a big parade. And Emily and I actually did that the last time that we were there. It was so much fun. I highly recommend it. Like I said, it is the best show in all of Walt Disney World, in my opinion. So let's go away from Animal Kingdom. We have visited all 4 parks: Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and Animal Kingdom. So what else is there? So let's talk about Disney Springs a bit. Disney Springs, like I tell everybody, there's so much great shopping there. There is the World of Disney store. It's a huge store full of Disney stuff. There is shirts and toys and mugs and games and everything. Anything that you could want as a memento is there. And they also have a really great Lego store in Disney Springs. And I know we're going to be visiting there when we go, because Emily now has a huge love for Legos. So I am very excited about that. And there aren't really that many rides, I guess. There's attractions. There's going to be a whole new Cirque du Soleil show, and there's a couple of little show type things there, but there aren't really that many rides. There is a hot air balloon ride that you can go on. I wouldn't, because of my fear of heights, but there's one that you can do. But besides the shopping and besides the little shows and stuff, there is so much dining. There is, some stands and some what they would call quick service, but the table service restaurants are by far the best. So I'm going to talk about 2 of those. The first one is probably Em's favorite, which is Raglan Road. It is an Irish-themed restaurant. It's like you're going into a big Irish pub. There are 2 different bars when you walk in, and there's lots of dining around. But the way that it's like an authentic Irish pub is that there is a big stage, and they play great Irish music, and there's Irish step dancing, and it's so lively and so interactive. It's so hard, if we're sitting right in the area where you can see the stage, that Em actually eats her meal because she's too busy watching. And she always tells me when we go that she wants to dance just like the Irish step dancers, and it's so great. She loves it, and it's actually, fairly fairly decently priced. So the price point there is it's two dollar signs, which is the $15 to $35 range, and it's one dining credit. The food there is amazing. I have gotten, let's see, I've gotten fish and chips there, and I've had, what else have I had? I've had the shepherd's pie. Amazing. And their drink menu, you can't get much better than what they have there. And they have traditional Guinness. For any Guinness drinkers, I'm not one, but for any traditional Guinness drinkers, they have that there. I highly recommend it. And my favorite restaurant over in Disney Springs has to be Paddlefish. The price point there is $2 signs, so it's $15 to $35 per adult, and it's actually 2 dining credits because it's considered a fine dining signature. And the food that you get there, the cuisine, is American seafood. Lots of seafood, but they also have lots of things that are not seafood there. The food is amazing. If you ask me where do you want to go at Disney Springs, I would always say Paddlefish. I love Raglan Road, but Paddlefish is by far my favorite. The food is amazing. I was able to get 3 of my all-time favorite menu items in any restaurant. If they have these items, you know that I'm going to get them if you know me. I got lobster bisque for an appetizer. I got filet Oscar, which is a filet mignon with crab meat and asparagus with a kind of cream sauce, béarnaise. I can't remember the exact name of it. Kind of a creamy type sauce, almost like a hollandaise, but not exactly, on top of the filet mignon. And for dessert, I got the chocolate creme brulee. Now, I love creme brulee, but chocolate creme brulee is by far my favorite. And for dessert, for M, she could get warm chocolate chip cookies and milk. And so good, so good. Some of the best chocolate chip cookies I have ever had. Well, now that I've made everybody's mouths water and we're all hungry, I'm going to end the show there. So that's it for me for today. So where can you find me? On Instagram, I am at Disney Life Happy Wife Podcast. Same on Facebook at Disney Life Happy Wife Podcast. You can find me on my blog, manysidesofmom.com/podcast. You can also email me at podcast@manysidesofmom.com. You can listen on the blog, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and on Google Podcasts as well. Hopefully very soon we will be on Pandora as well. So that's it. Thank you so much for listening and taking the time to tune in and hear what I have to say about Disney. Okay? Hope you all have a great week. Keep having a great week. I will see you next Wednesday and have a magical rest of your week. Thanks. Bye, guys.